AVR, today's best country.
All right, I'm here with Chris Walsh, and Chris, you just wrote the book Under the Electric Sky, and it's the legacy of the Bill Lynch shows. And when you started writing this, did you think you were going to get a full book out of this, or what did you think you were going to get?
Yeah, well, I mean, it started out with me just as an idea for like a magazine-style article to go out and live with the carnival for a while, and just kind of write about a world that a lot of us have, experienced, at least in the first part of, just experienced it the way everybody else does. Getting out there on the road, though, I thought I could tell the story that not everybody knows, just that kind of way of life and that whole different world that a lot of us don't understand.
Well, did you ever want to run away and join the carnival as a kid, or what?
No, it wasn't anything like that. I never actually had that impulse until I was working at Dalhousie, actually, at the student newspaper there, starting my journalism career, and thought, it'd be a real fascinating story to go and write about this. Nothing bad happened to me on the carnival. Nothing good happened to me. It was just a world that I thought was worthy of exploring and explaining.
All right, so what is inside the book? Because it's not just about the Bill Lynch shows as we know them. You really do a history of the carnivals in the Maritimes.
Yeah, that's right. And in the beginning, it was Bill Lynch shows with another guy who was actually he was from Sydney originally, and then he ended up touring in the States. And then Bill kind of took over from this guy, as becoming the undisputed king of the road here in the Maritimes. But yeah, the history of even just the Bill Lynch shows is fascinating in that it started on McNabb's Island in Halifax, which I wasn't aware of until I started doing the article, and so I found all this history. So it starts there and it goes out, and I mean, it just became the second biggest on the continent at one point. And it was around then that I realized that to tell the history of this story of living with the carnival was something that was very important, explaining who these carnies are today. It's important to have the history so you know where they came from. It tells the whole story that way.
Well, one of the things that I thought was interesting was there's sideshow exhibits here in the Maritimes, and that's something that you touch on in the book as well. What kind of sideshows were here in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, well, I mean, he had some of the biggest ones from the States up here. In the 50s, 40s, 50s, 30s. In the 30s, there was a woman who came to Nova Scotia, to Halifax, and they billed her as Alzoria the Turtle Woman, the strangest freak attraction ever hit Nova Scotia. What she was a woman with a deformity in her arms and legs. She didn't have a shell or anything, and her face was really quite regular. She came here, and there were all kinds of different ones. A man with two faces, a guy who had burnt the bottom part of his face off, and he'd get in front of people with a mask on in the shadows and tell a story, and then he'd turn his face and come back and remove the mask, and his whole bottom of his face would be missing, and, women would scream, and people would get nauseous, and but it was the kind of story, and I think that out here a lot of times people think that the old freak shows were somehow exploitative in a way, and I think that a lot of people, at least a lot of the sideshow performers, it actually gave them a sense of self-worth, and it gave them a modicum even of social dignity to be able to go out and make a dollar. And people would be snickering about them behind their backs anyway, so why not put it all in front, out in the open, and make a dollar off of it, and it gave them pride. And I think that a lot of those performers were kind of hurt by people's high moral authority and misdirected moral authority, saying, you shouldn't be doing this, you're being exploited. And really, it was their world, it was their life, it was what they had chosen, it was what they could do, and it made them happy. So I like to think of all the old freak attractions, laughing about it at the end of the day, about how they tricked everybody into making them feel sorry for them and giving them more money. I have a documented story in here where they actually say that. So, yeah.
It's neat. It's Under the Electric Sky. That is Chris Walsh, and check it out, The Legacy of the Bill Lynch Shows in the Maritimes. Thanks a lot for your time today, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry.
AVR, today's best country.